Hey guys, ECRG here. Today we're going to be talking about CRA skills lacking in critical areas. Hey guys, ECRG here, back with another video. Today we're going to be talking about CRA skills lacking in critical areas. There was an article that came out recently titled this. And to be honest with you, I wasn't even going to record a video today, an episode if you're listening on the podcast. But this article came across my phone on LinkedIn and I found it really interesting. So I wanted to discuss it with you guys. Maybe you guys are interested in becoming CRAs and are wondering, well, how can I be a CRA? Why is it so hard to be a CRA? And I think this article provides some insight into that, particularly because we've done a video in the past about a company or organization titled IAOCR. And we talked about how their new initiative is to rate CRAs based on competency and not on years of experience. So sponsors typically want 2 years of experience before you can monitor on their trials, before you can become a CRA. And they definitely hire CRAs with more years of experience. But IAOCR has found out that it is not the years of experience that correlate with competency. People, regardless of how many years of experience they have, can be competent enough to become CRAs. And that is what we should be looking for. And this study in this article actually found out the same thing, that regardless of experience determines how good you are at being a CRA. So basically this group, they are CRAA. Let's see what it stands for. They have a simulation. It's called, their company's called CRA Assessments, so CRAA. And they have a simulation that they run to determine how you are at monitoring. And they basically ran this simulation. And basically what they did methodology-wise is they consisted of assessments conducted on 579 unique CRAs all over the world: North America, Europe, the Middle East, Africa, Latin America, and Asia Pacific. And they collected more data on basically the CRA's title, so 1, 2, 3, senior, how many years of experience they have, number of monitoring notes, time to complete the simulation, and the scores that they got from the assessment, from the simulation that was administered. So they were monitored on 8 different categories: the ICF process, informed consent process, IRB, IEC reporting, protocol requirements, IRB, IEC submission and approvals, source documentation, source to EDC, potential fraud, and delegation of authority. And let's see. So of the 579 samples, 233 were from North America, 225 were from EMA, I think that's Latin America, 79 from Asia Pacific. Oh, EMEA is where? EMEA. Oh, Europe and Middle East. 42 is from Latin America. All right, so that's basically it. So they had 282 were senior CRAs, 78 were CRA2s, and 69 were CRA1s. And then they basically had an average score. So basically, I'm going to just quickly go through the results here. So they showed that CRAs exhibited similar average scores regardless of CRA title. So CRA1s had assessment scores average 64%, CRA2s average 59%, and senior CRAs averages 60%. So when they found that the CRAs altogether performed the best in ICF process, protocol requirement, and delegation of authority. Scores tended to be lower in IRB IEC reporting, IRB IEC submission and approval, and source documentation, and source to EDC domains. And then the potential fraud was the lowest domain by far of all 8 domains. So apparently CRAs are not good at detecting fraud. Then let's see. So yeah, here in the discussion, this is what they say. This is the sentence that really got me. The analysis reveals, first and foremost, that CRA average competency scores were near equivalent, regardless of CRA title, when administered in the simulation. And then they also found there was wide variability within the domains. All domains had at least one CRA score that was 100%, whereas 7 of 8 domains had at least one CRA with 0%. And then they have found that there were differences among region, with Latin Americans performing the best, followed by Europe and Middle East, then followed by Asia Pacific, then followed by North America. Wow, North America performed the worst. So that's interesting. So they also found that CRAs are generally underperforming in areas critical to clinical trial data quality and integrity. The overall average of 60% across all CRAs should not be acceptable in the global pharmaceutical industry. So that's interesting. So CRAs are underperforming. And that's probably what they're talking about in this article and then the previous video I've done on IAOCR is, hey, it doesn't matter how many years of experience you have. It matters how much competency you have. That's what we should be looking at. How good are you as a CRA? And I think it's funny because there's a lot of turnover in the industry. And I think a lot of people have been getting promotions when they shouldn't have been getting promoted, just because of supply-demand economics. And hey, I'm all for supply-demand economics. I'm all for employees having the leverage, especially when employees have the leverage in the situation. So I'm not complaining at all, and I hope it stays that way. But it just goes to show that, one, they should be hiring more CRA 1s because clearly CRA 1s are able to do just as good of a job as people with more experience in CRA 2s. But it's so hard to get in as a CRA 1. I know because I've been through it. It's so hard to get in as an entry-level CRA. But it shouldn't matter because clearly the numbers show that they're relatively equal. And you can pay CRA 1s less than you have to pay senior CRAs. So they should really take a liking to that, CROs and sponsors. But let's see, what else was I going to say here? Yeah, so clearly that's a big deal where, they all basically scored the same. And I think sponsors typically thought that more experience you had, the better you were going to score, or the better CRA you were going to be. Not the case. But oh yeah, I was talking about the people jumping around. So they've been getting promotions when they shouldn't have been. So someone with a senior CRA, they say they have, let's say, 4 years experience, or they have that title, but really they only have a couple years of good monitoring experience. Because I'm of the mindset that, after you've been doing it a year, you have enough to go interview elsewhere, and you really rely on that experience. I think the vast amount of growth happens, within the first year, 2 years, where after that it starts diminishing returns and you only learn but a little bit each year after that. But yeah, I think because of the supply demand, people have been able to rise in the ranks quickly rather than build competency. And if you're jumping around from company to company, different systems, different learning environment, you're not able to really master the craft because you're constantly changing your location, you're constantly changing maybe studies. You're not able to really delve deep and deal with any of the issues you had because you were able to just leave the company and leave those issues behind. So I think those are a few reasons why maybe higher level CRAs are lacking competency. And if they stayed around a little bit longer, perhaps they wouldn't be lacking as much competency and they'd be much better as CRAs. So I'm sure there's going to be a study that comes out that shows, hey, CRAs that stay in the same position for longer than a year fare better than the ones that have jumped around. So that's interesting. So this article was on applied clinical trials. That's one of the digital things, and I'm sure we're going to see a lot more articles on CRA competency. I just thought this one was really interesting and wanted to share with you guys, especially because a lot of people I know want to become CRAs. So obviously, if you're new to clinical research, want to get into the field, you want to be a CRA, one of the things you got to have is a really good resume. So obviously, email us at eliteclinicalgroup@gmail.com. We review resumes, guys, and we've helped a lot of people have that good opportunity that they want, get interviews, get into the field, and it all starts with your resume. So email us at eliteclinicalgroup@gmail.com. As always, like this video. If you're on the podcast, review us, share it, subscribe, tell your friends about us. We want to help as many people as possible. So tell your friends about us on YouTube, on the podcast, or if they just want to email us and say hello, eliteclinicalgroup@gmail.com. And always ask your questions. Either way, ask your questions. We respond all the time. So I hope you guys enjoyed this article review. Take care.